Hi everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to talk about flex slots in Amulet Titan. So we're going to talk about the cards that, yes, you pretty much have to play, but also the cards you can play in those extra slots to make your very own but stock version of Amulet Titan. Let's jump into it.
What are you doing?
I must protect my precious amulet. Oh, precious.
So these are the non-flex slots of Amulet Titan. If you play Amulet Titan, you're pretty much bought into having to play these 51 cards in the main deck and these 5 cards in the sideboard. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about what cards should you play in the leftover 9 slots in the main deck and the 10 slots in the sideboard. Well, these are your options. You have 24 cards to pick from to fill 9 slots for the main deck, and then you have 19 cards to pick from to fill the 10 slots in the sideboard. So let's talk about these cards so you can make your decision. You can play Cavern of Souls. It is a land. As it enters, choose a creature type. You can tap it to add a colorless mana, or you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type. That spell can't be countered. It's decent against counterspell decks if counterspells end up being a little bit better in Modern. Really good against Murktide because you can, again, fetch up this Cavern of Souls and then use it to cast your Titans. You can play Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor is a forest dryad. It is a 1/1 and also a land. A major downside of this card is that because it's a creature, when you play it at summoning 6, you can't use the mana from it, but also it is a creature that allows you to block, attack with it, pump up with your cards, you know, whatever. You can play the basic forest. You can play Gruul Turf, which is land that enters tapped. When it enters, return a land you control to its owner's hand. You can tap to add a red and a green. This would be the 4th Gruul Turf, I believe, just as additional bounce land stuff. Same thing with Selesnya Sanctuary, except it's green-white, and then same thing with Simic Growth Chamber, which is green-blue. Depending on which one of these you pick, it kind of depends on what other cards you're playing in the other flex slots, like Mistful Dispute or Dismember or whatever. You can play 2 Mycosynth Gardens. Mycosynth Gardens is a land that you tap it to add a colorless. You can pay 1 and tap it to add 1 mana of any color. And you can pay X and tap it to have this land become a copy of target non-token artifact you control with mana value X. So this allows us to copy cards like Amulet of Vigor. You can also copy like Expedition Map, which is really nice, but it can give you the second Amulet, which means that like a Titan is just a kill, which is pretty cool. Though it's a pretty bad land if you're not doing exactly that, and it's no longer a land when you copy that Amulet of Vigor, so that kind of sucks too. You can play Urza's Cave. Urza's Cave is a land that taps at a colorless. You pay 3 mana and tap it and sacrifice to search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. It allows us to tutor our deck for the lands for whatever situation is needed, whether it be needing more mana or grabbing that Cavern of Souls or whatever. I can play Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. It's land that enters tapped whenever a mountain you control enters. If you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have this land deal 3 damage to any target, and you can tap it to add a red. So we aren't going to be playing actually that many mountains, but we can play Dryad of Elysian Grove, which makes lands every basic land type. It's a 3 mana 2/4, and you can play additional land on each one of your turns and you play that card. But when it's every basic land type, then everything is a mountain. So you can cast cards like Scapeshift or Primeval Titan and stuff like that and trigger Valakut, which is pretty cool. Though again, similar to like Mycosynth Gardens, if you're not doing the thing, this is a pretty awful land. You play another Summoner's Pact. Summoner's Pact, 0 mana instant. Search your library for a green creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And at the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 4 mana. If you don't, you lose the game. This allows us to tutor our deck, but if we don't like kill our opponent the turn that we tutor, we have to like use some mana the following turn, which is pretty miserable. You can play an Expedition Map. Expedition Map's 1 mana artifact. You can pay 2 mana and tap it and sacrifice it to search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Again, this allows us to tutor our deck. It's something we can grab off of Urza Saga. We can play up to 4 Explorers. Explorers is a 2 mana sorcery. You may play an additional land this turn and draw a card. This allows us to churn through our deck and ramp effectively. You can play up to 3 Malevolent Rumble. Is a 2 mana sorcery. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a permanent card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token. With sacrifice this token, add a colorless. This allows us to ramp and also search through our deck because most of our deck, a giant majority of our deck actually are permanent cards. And so this kind of acts as a green ponder for us, which is really nice. I've already talked about Dryad. You can play a Cultivator Colossus. This is a 7 mana star with trample. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. And when this creature enters, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. So Cultivator Colossus is really good to search up if we are looking for a non-land card out of our deck and looking to be able to kill on the back of this one creature, because it allows us to like totally churn through our deck and sort of end the turn with a fistful of non-lands. Play up 3 Green Sun Zenith. Green X sorcery, search your library for a green creature card, mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library. It's just another tutor effect, though it's really mana intensive, so it's really only good against decks that are actively interacting with us putting our combo together. So if you happen to be playing against a lot of those, like Murktide or something like that, then Green Sun Zenith is really solid. So you're going to be selecting 9 of these 24 cards for your main deck. And let's look at your sideboard. You could be playing up to 3 Mystical Dispute. It's a 3-minute instant, but it costs 2 less if it targets a blue spell. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 3. So effectively 1 mana counter spell for counter spells. This is really good, again, if you're playing against a lot of counter spell decks, which happen to be very good against us. You play Dismember. It is 3 mana, 2 Phyrexian Black, and 1 target creature gets -5/-5 till end of turn. We're not playing a lot of intensive colors that have good removal, so being able to play a card like Dismember to be able to have that removal is really solid. You can play Pyroclasm. 2 mana sorcery, deals 2 damage to each creature. Very good against these go wide strategies like Energy, in addition to even more Vampire's Vengeance for the same reason. You play Collector Oof. It is a 2 mana 2/2. Activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. Good against the Affinity deck and Belcher, and we can also tutor it up. You play 6. It's a 3 mana 2/4 with reach. Whenever 6 attacks, mill 3 cards. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. And during your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace, which means you can cast them by discarding a land card in addition to paying other costs. This card is good if we need an alternate win condition and be doing more things than just like fighting to get to the combo. So 6 is really solid in that way. Similar thing with Tireless Tracker. It is a 3 mana 3/2 with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, investigate, which means create a clue token, which is an artifact with pay 2 mana to and sacrifice it to draw a card. And whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. It's again a alternate win condition, allows us to do stuff other than the primary game plan of the deck, similar to 6. We already talked about Green Sun Zenith, but you could play it in the sideboard. You can play a single Bazooka Bog. It's a land that enters tapped. When it enters, exile target player's graveyard, and you can tap it to add a black. Tapping it to add a black doesn't really matter, but it's a land that when it enters, you get to exile their graveyard. So if you need graveyard hate, you can search up Bazooka Bog, because there's a lot of ways to tutor lands in this deck, and you can even bounce it back to your hand and replay it with, like, Gruul Turf, Selesnya Sanctuary, Simic Growth Chamber, or whatever. Play another Boseiju. Boseiju, legendary land. He can tap to add a green. He can channel it, which means pay 2 mana and discard it to destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player may search a library for a land card with a basic land type, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Great artifact enchantment hate that we can tutor up. You can play that Cavern of Souls in the sideboard, which we've already talked about. And same thing with the Forests, which is very good against like Ghost Quarter effects and stuff like that. Speaking of Ghost Quarter, you can play Ghost Quarter. It's the land. You can tap it to add a colorless. You can tap it and sacrifice it, destroy target land. Its controller may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. It's very good against decks that have lands that produce multiple mana, or lands that you really need to answer, like the Mirror Match or Eldrazi or something. Again, we can tutor it. Ottawara Soaring City is a legendary land. You can tap it to add a blue and channel it by paying 4 mana and discarding it to return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its owner's hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Very good against problematic permanents that we need to deal with, whether they're attacking or whatever. And we can play a Vexing Bauble. Vexing Bauble is a 1 mana artifact. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. You can pay 1 mana, tap it, and sacrifice it to draw a card, so you can cash it in. So Vexing Bauble, it's important to note, counters our own Summoner's Pact, which kind of sucks, but also very good against forces like Force of Vigor or Force of Negation or whatever, and we can sacrifice it the turn we want to play our own Summoner's Pact, and it's tutorable whether it's a Saga, so that's all very powerful. So you're going to be selecting 10 of these 19 cards for the sideboard. You're going to be selecting 9 of these 24 cards to your main deck, and then you will make your very own but stock version of Amulet Titan in Modern. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.